In Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, there are 3 different damage types, and 2 of them I already made videos on, including putting your enemies to sleep and also knocking your enemies out. Today we're going to talk about the 3rd damage type, which is lethal damage. And there are a lot of fun and creative ways to unalive your enemies in this game, so let's get into it. The first technique is breaking enemies' necks. First, grab the enemy from behind using CQC. Then push the CQC button multiple times to knock them out. But once they knock out, continue pushing the CQC button until Snake snaps their neck. Another fun option is using the electric fences. You can drag one of the enemy's unconscious bodies to the fence and it'll electrocute them. But be careful because Snake can also get electrocuted. So if you want to avoid getting electrocuted, go ahead and shoot the power box and Snake will be fine. Now, another option with the electric fence is grabbing your enemy from behind and drag them over to the fence. You're going to want to get close enough to throw them into the fence, but don't get too close or else Snake can electrocute himself. But if you're too far away and you throw the enemy forward, it won't work and you can mess up the entire technique. It takes a little bit of trial and error, but just get close enough, but not too close, and just throw them forward. And this is one of my favorite techniques in the entire game, how to dispatch your enemies. Another option you have is using the knife. Equip the knife and use the shoot button and Snake will slice his enemies. Another knife technique is grab the enemies from behind and execute them. If there is thick mud or water in the area, you can also use this to take out your enemies. One option is grab the enemy's unconscious bodies and just drag them over and watch them drown. One problem I've encountered while recording this footage is I keep encountering invisible walls when throwing enemies. See right here, I tried to throw the enemy into the thick mud, but an invisible wall got in my way and it didn't work. But I used CQC and it worked out in the end. You can also just use one of the oldest tricks in the book, just throw a grenade. Now if using a gun, body shots will take a couple or a few shots to take out enemies. But headshots will always work, a one hit and they're done. And now, one of my favorite cliches in all of video games, exploding barrels. Another option is throwing enemies off of a cliff. Kind of. This took a little trial and error. Some techniques work, some don't. If you drag their unconscious bodies, they will fall right off the cliff. But if you grab them from behind and try to throw them forward off of a cliff, you will encounter an invisible wall and it won't work. But if you grab them from behind, drag them over, and let go, then they will fall. Another fun technique with the cliff is when they're trying to cross this bridge right here, go ahead and shoot the ropes that's holding the bridge up. The bridge will become unstable and they'll slip and fall. Once again, I'll show you right here. If you try to throw the enemy forward off the cliff, you'll encounter an invisible wall and it won't work, but you can just drag them and just let them go. If you encounter enemies on these little hover platforms right here, you can put them to sleep or shoot them and they'll fall and explode. I mentioned earlier using headshots with your weapons, but if you grab the sniper, it makes headshots a lot easier and more convenient too. I mentioned earlier you can drown your enemies in thick mud, well you can also do it with water. If you drag your enemies and drop them in water, they will instantly drown. I guess the soldiers in this area just don't know how to swim. You can grab their unconscious bodies and drop them in water, or use CQC and then drop them in water. Another fun technique that I already did a video on is feeding your enemies poisonous or rotten food. Another fun technique I already did a video on is throwing venomous animals at the enemy. You can throw venomous snakes, venomous spiders, or venomous scorpions. And just like with the electric fence, I love using the enemy's own traps against them. If you find any of these traps out in the wild, you can just throw or drop the enemies right in the trap and watch them fall. Now this last technique is using mounted machine guns that you'll find along your journey. They work really well against enemy soldiers and also helicopters. But be careful because the helicopters will try and shoot you, and you'll be an easy target for enemies as well. But if you're worried about using the mounted guns and being stuck in one spot and being an easy target, go ahead and grab the RPG. This also works. Like I said, you are an easy target because you're stuck in one spot. Enemies will throw grenades at you, or they'll shoot you with their own RPGs. So this is specifically an anti-air machine gun, but there's also just a regular machine gun. I don't know what to call it. It's a lot smaller, it's a lot less deadly, it's a lot less powerful, but it works just fine on enemy soldiers. If you're using one of these mounted machine guns and you're worried about enemy soldiers sneaking up behind you, go ahead and put some claymore on the ground to protect yourself and to watch your back. That should do the trick. Because unlike the anti-aircraft machine gun, these mounted machine guns on the ground, they do not go 360, you can't rotate all the way, so you can't really watch your back. Now, I believe this is every single technique how to terminate your enemies in Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Please let me know if I missed any of the lethal damage types. I think I covered everything, but there might have been something I missed. Please let me know. Also, please let me know what lethal technique is your favorite. Mine is still the electric fences, but let me know what yours is. Alright, thank you, goodbye.